Digest on Jomar ABlaza versus People of the Philippines, GR number 217722, September 26, 2018. Elements of robbery with violence against or intimidation of persons. Acts punished under this article. Paragraph 5. If the violence employed by the offender does not cause any of the serious physical injuries defined in Article 263, or if the offender employs intimidation only, it is called simple robbery. The elements of the crime of robbery to wit: first, that there is taking of personal property. Second, the personal property belongs to another. Third, the taking is with animus lucrandi. And fourth, the taking is with violence against or intimidation of person or force upon things to be present. The facts of the case: that on or about 29th day of July 2010, in the city of Olongapo, Philippines, the accused conspiring, confederating together, and mutually helping one another with intent to gain and by means of force and violence against a person of Rosario S. Snyder, did then and there willfully, unlawfully, feloniously, and forcibly grab, take, steal, and carry away 3 pieces of necklaces worth 43,800, 12,800, and 13,500 respectively, or in the total amount of 70,100 in Philippine currency, belonging to the said complainant, to her damage and prejudice. She had receipts to prove her ownership. She brought them at the jewelry store. Snyder was certain about the identity of the petitioner since he had a good look at the robber's face when they looked back at her before speeding away, and also because petitioner was not wearing any helmet at that time. The Court of Appeals, however, was not swayed by petitioner's asseveration and found no merit in the appeal. It saw no reason not to believe Snyder's testimony and likewise found all the elements of robbery obtaining. It is debunking petitioner's claim that the element of violence was absent, and the CA stated that only way that the necklace could have been taken from Snyder was through the use of violence and physical force. The issue, whether or not the petitioner should be acquitted of the crime robbery, or in the alternative that he held liable only for theft. The ruling: in this case, Snyder did not sustain any kind of injury at all, and as already mentioned, her testimony was bereft of any showing that violence was used against her by petitioner and his co-accused, is that she was pushed or otherwise harmed on the occasion of the robbery. While one can only imagine how pulling 3 necklaces at the same time from the victim's neck could have caused any mark, bruise, or pain to the latter, suffice it to state that such a matter must have been adequately proved by the prosecution during the trial, as the court cannot rely on the mere assumptions, surmise, or conjecture, especially it is in the life and liberty of the petitioner which is at stake. As to intimidation, its not existent in this case is not in dispute, and even if otherwise, the court will just the same rule against it. Per the victim's testimony, the act of the perpetrators in grabbing her necklace was so sudden, hence it could not have produced fear or duress in victim's mind as to deprive her of the exercise of her will. Fundamental is the precept of all criminal prosecutions that the constitutive act of the offense must be established with unwavering exactitude and moral certainty, because it is the critical and only requisite to a finding of guilt. Here, the 4th requisite of the crime of robbery is not obtained, considering that the prosecution failed to sufficiently establish that the taking of necklaces was with violence against or intimidation of persons. Accordingly, petitioner must be held liable only for the crime of theft, not of robbery.